Okay, so I want to take a minute and explain to you how I grade. This is a pretty standard form for most of the courses you're going to have. When you have an assignment, it's going to give you the instructions right here. Like this is the assignment for discussion 1. It gives you your basic premise. It's top post due on day 3. You have until day 7 to respond to your classmates. Your grade will reflect both the quality of your initial post and the depth of your responses. Please refer to the discussion forum grading rubric under the settings icon for guidance on how your discussion will be evaluated. Now, this rubric, and almost all of your assignments have a standard rubric, is located here. And we can look at the show rubric thing. Can I make this larger? Let's see if I can make this larger. But you'll notice that there are 4 different categories. There's general content, subject knowledge. There's critical thinking, engagement participation, and written communication. And the way I view all of these is your general content subject knowledge is going to be what you're getting from the textbook in terms of historical support for your ideas, or as I would call them, examples. And a lot of times I'll simply put, as I'm going through it, all right, do you have an example of this? Do you have an example? Because examples are how you're demonstrating how these things happened historically, right? So, for instance, if you're in this first one where we're talking about the women of Greece and Rome, and you're talking, let's say, about patriarchy, then you're going to want to give me an example of how that patriarchy works somewhere in Greece or Rome, such as in the law or in religion or in one of the things that your textbook is going to talk about. A distinguished rating, which is effectively an A, is going to be one that gives me a lot of examples and demonstrates a really thorough understanding of the history coming out of the textbook. A B rating is going to be proficient. You give me some examples, maybe not as thoroughly as you could. A C rating is going to be basic. It addresses all the aspects of the prompt in accordance with the parameters and demonstrates basic knowledge of the discussion topic. That would be if you maybe gave me one example for each idea as opposed to doing a really thorough analysis. The D level, below expectations, and then of course the non-performance, you don't give me any examples. Critical thinking has to do with addressing the broad ideas in here. In a lot of these, it's going to be comparable, like this first one's going to be comparing some of the Greek and Roman ideas about women and women in art. So the more thorough your analysis, the more support you use from your other required multimedia or secondary sources, the better that's going to be, because a lot of what we're going to be doing here is this comparison of ideas and comparisons of perspectives. So an A for that would be one where you really get into it and really talk about how your textbook says one thing, but maybe one of the other required readings says something else. You're going to be showing a really thorough understanding of the ideas involved. The B rating, again, you get some of the ideas, but maybe not as thoroughly examined as you could. Basic, again, showing that you understand the very baseline of what's going on, and then of course below expectations and non-performance. Your engagement and participation has to do with how you relate to your peers and the peer comments you make. Now, as I pointed out in the introductory video, I will respond to every top post. It might not always be on Friday. It might be on Friday, Saturday, and maybe on Sunday if we have a lot of people in the course and I've got a lot going on. But I'll respond to all of them. And the questions I'm going to ask you have to do with trying to get your overall information out to get your grade up. So like if you're not using or you don't reference a required source, I'm going to ask you in a peer comment, okay, well, what does so-and-so think about this and how does it compare to the other sources you used? That's a sign that you left something out of your top post that you have the opportunity right now to fill it in. Responding to me is counted as a peer comment. I will try to get my initial peer comments done in early so that if I come back through and I'm reading your response to me the first time and I think there's still something else we can do with it, I'll ask you another question. So if you answer that question, that's 2 responses to me and 2 peer comments. Again, the idea being with these to keep a discussion going. So you may want to check back, you may want to keep a list of to whom you respond, and check back and see if they respond to you, because this becomes, again, a discussion as opposed to just randomly dropping information in. When you do respond to a top post, you want to put stuff in it that is not either in that top post or in your top post. You want to use the peer comments as an opportunity to demonstrate a broader knowledge and a broader understanding of these ideas, including things that you didn't get a chance to demonstrate in your top post itself. So this is where distinguished comes in. When your peer comments are diverse, they add new information each time. They expand on the idea, either of the person writing the top post, or they expand on the ideas that someone makes in a peer comment to you. Proficient is if you obviously are demonstrating, again, some of the different things that are not in your top post or in the top post to which you're responding, but you could do more with it. That's still going to be proficient. Basic, again, speaks for itself. Not doing a lot there, could do more. And then below expectations and non-performance. Below expectations and non-performance, I will tell you right now, are going to be points where, or places where you don't add anything at all to the conversation. I appreciate politeness. I appreciate you telling people, oh, I really liked your top post. I thought you did a good job with X. That's not adding anything to the conversation. That's being nice, but it's not demonstrating any fuller knowledge. It's not taking the conversation up a notch. It's not adding anything. The idea here is that you want to demonstrate the ideas, the expansion of information, demonstrate a broad understanding of the information coming from all of the sources that you're required to use. So, while again, I appreciate being nice and complimentary, if that's all you're doing, that's not actually contributing to the conversation. It doesn't hit the basic mark. You want to add something new. Written communication, this is pretty straightforward. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you and say straight off the bat, a lot of the written communication grade to me is going to be citation. It's going to be how well you are citing, both in form, internally with the author and the date and the page number if it's a book, and how well your works cited is. All of your peer comments should also have internal citation and a works cited, just as your top post does. And remember, you must cite, even if you put things in your own words. If it's an idea that you're getting from the textbook or an idea that you're getting from one of the other sources, you must cite it at the end of the sentence in which you use that idea. So I will hit hard on citation because it's very important to get that citation in there and to do it as correctly as possible. All right, so that's basically how I'm going to grade. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to put, well, if I were doing this one, I would click on each of these and then it would tabulate at the bottom here what your total is. Again, if I can expand this, it would put your, yeah, here you go. See, it would put down here the total. For this first discussion, you have a total of 3 points. It would tell you which values I put in for this and what your total was, and then it converts it into a letter grade for, well, a number grade out of 100 for your grade book. All right, so that's pretty much how to do it. Now, again, I'm going to remind you, there is a late penalty, 10% per day, especially on the discussions. So if there's a reason something's going to be late, you want to let me know, preferably before it is due, so that I don't take that off. And there are valid reasons. I mean, I understand, again, we all understand that, real life is what it is. We all have jobs. Many of us have children. Many of us are taking care of family members. We all have a lot going on. So if there's a reason you're going to be late with something, try to let me know before, if possible. And if not before, then as soon as the deadline hits, so that we can discuss, that is a valid excuse for missing the deadline and posting it as soon as you can. All right, if you have questions about how I grade, and again, they're going to be, these rubrics are pretty much in everything. If you go down to assignments and you're looking at, come on, load for me here. Let's say the week 1 assignment, read chapter 3, read chapter 7, review the video segment. review the video segment, Kristen de Pizan. All of these are required for this, which means you're going to need to cite from each of these in the body of your work, right? You're going to watch the video analyzing creative works. And then the grading rubric for it is located here. And it's going to show you, again, a rubric very similar to the one we just had, examines how women in the medieval war contribute to culture in 3 of the assigned categories, evaluates how these contributions compare to women's roles, discusses at least 3 examples of women's contributions, and then the written communication for these is a little bit more extensive. Syntax and mechanics, page requirement. It's got a whole category all of its own for APA formatting, and then for your resources, because you have all 4 of those resources that need to be used, which means they need to be cited in the body of the work itself. So always look at your rubrics, and I say that because sometimes when you're looking at the questions themselves, it's easy to get confused about what you think you're supposed to do. Look at the grading rubric, because it will show you exactly what I'm supposed to be looking for when I grade it. And it's going to show you the most important parts, the ones that I have to look most closely at. Of the 10% for this, the women, how women in the medieval world contribute to culture in 3 different assigned categories is a third of the grade for this. It's 3 points. Another very strong one, how those contributions compare to women's roles. So how did they defy what the expectations were of what they were supposed to do by doing this art? 3 examples of women contribution, also strong. So you're going to need 3 actual literal pieces of art that you're going to be talking about and defining and showing how they both contributed to art, but maybe for a distinguished grade, how they also demonstrated women not staying in their roles, or if they were staying in their roles, how they did it. And then, of course, the mechanics are less, but again, those are often, because this is a total of 2 points here, that's the difference between literally 2 letter grades for a 10-point paper. So you want to be sure you get those mechanics well. All right, so again, before every assignment, particularly, look at the grading rubric so you know what I'm supposed to be focused on looking at, and therefore what you need to dedicate a tremendous amount of your time to in order to get those points in there that you need. If you have questions, as always, email me at farah.driver@faculty.uhec.edu. It'll be in the written summary of this as well. I look forward to your work.